But so often we find ourselves at the footsteps of these thought patterns that Negro, black, colored, Ethiopian. So it didn't make a difference whether or not if I had a fez on, whether or not if I'm dressed up. The fact of the matter is that if we're not aware, it can easily slip out because that's how that lower self is. Surely, if you say you believe that you'll not be tested, see, in the Holy Quran of Mecca, it teaches me is that when I say I believe that there's no God but Almighty God Allah, then I'm gonna be tested to every inch of my life. And Prophet Noble Ali gave me the opportunity and the chance to be able to work towards getting my salvation back. See, and then he teaches us about status principles of action in our life that we ever act according to them. See, some of us, we do that, but then we fall short. And I try to keep that out front. And even then, because that Lord self is so shrewd and so slick that means to say the devil, dragon, and beast is something else. So you might not fall victim to all of them. You might just fall victim to one of them. And one, Lucifer, the illumination of the spiritual light, of that truth. But when you look at the truth, you got to be able to understand what light is you looking at. Are you looking at it from an unconscious state, or whether or not if you're looking at it from a high self state? See, because the truth don't change or pass away. And it's one of the things that we have to be mindful of. And I always try to keep myself mindful of it. But just like I say, I ain't reached that state yet. I ain't reached that pinnacle yet. Even though I'm striving, the 12-step line. The Bible gave me a whole lot to be grateful for. And we have a whole lot to be grateful for. Not just only for our Prophet Noble Ali, but the brothers and the sisters that was along with the Prophet Noble Ali that kept the doors open for us to be able to demonstrate what we demonstrate now. All praise is due to Allah. Islam?
Islam.
And at this time, I had some wonderful brothers that's going to come before you to share their portion of understanding and their gratitude to Allah as well as the Prophet of Ali. And at this time, I'd like to call our captain, Brother R. Goodman Bay. Islam?
Islam. Islam. First, I rise, give praise to Allah, salam to Allah's Prophet Noble Ali, salam to the forerunner Prophet, Brother Mark Agari, salam to all past and present leaders of the Most High, to America, salam to you, and honor you, all, my Father, God, Allah. I still honor to everything that the chairman stood honor to. I do again, still honor to you. Islam.
Islam.
As a custom read from the Holy Quran of the Most High, to America, the Bible, by the noble prophet, Ali, by the God of his Father, God, Allah, the great God of the universe, the redeemed man, for the simple foundation of man. Back to how I explain life with his Father, God, Allah. Quote from page 3, declare my intentions, any mistakes on nine, not the prophet, and surely not the Most High, the Lord of life. Dear readers, do not force to use these lessons. They're for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. Turn to this week's chapter found on page 59. I know I'm trying to go.
Yes, sir.
Found on page 59. Carries over to page 60. The Divine Instruction of Holy Prophet, chapter 48. The end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecy. See, not only is this a holy day, it's our prophet's manifestation day. So let's stick with the title right now because, see, we can get a lot out of the title. It says the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. So what is being referred to here? See, because the prophet teaches us that we are not Negroes, black folks, colored people, or any of those things that came from a direct result of slavery. So what is he talking about? The end of what time? He's talking about the end of time of us calling ourselves Negroes, calling ourselves black, colored, and all those things that delude to slavery.
Islam.
But I find myself wondering because as time goes on, we gradually start to gravitate towards other things that are of harm to us. You know, I was talking to my niece last night and she said, "Hey, dummy, what's up?" So I had to say, "Oh, wait a minute. Ain't no dummy over here. You know, we don't play the dummy game." Especially this guy, because I'm highly intelligent and I'm smart. And so are you. So let's not play the dummy game. No, it ain't nothing but slang. See, the word Negro became a slang word. And what do we find ourselves calling each other today? That nigger. Come on. Let's get these Europeans back their things and let's begin to uplift ourselves and move in the direction that the prophet wants us to move in. So now, he says the fulfilling of the prophecies. I can't go into details of every prophecy that the prophet have brought forth, but if we were to read our Moorish Holy Quran, the most prolific prophecy that we can move towards, and that is regaining our birthrights. And what is our birthright? To be the Lord of the plain of things made manifest. It's not going to be done overnight. It's not going to be done probably in one lifetime. But if we are moving in that direction, if we see positive results, if we see positivity around us, if we continuously move in the positive direction and demonstrate positivity, then we are being the Lord of the plain things made manifest. Even if it's just for a short period of time. So now it says, the last prophet in these days, it says, the last prophet in these days is Noble Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. Let's look at that for a second. Because see, I have to look at history. When the prophet came on the scene and started demonstrating the uplifting of fallen humanity, he said, "Come all you Asiatics and hear the truth about yourself. You're not Negroes." But he did this at a time when lynching was at an all-time high and was not touched. Why? Because he was sent by Allah. So he was divinely prepared, and he had that divine hand on him to move in a direction to get us to think. Because why would we always say in the Moor Science of America, if I can get you to think, you can what? Save yourself. So why don't we begin to think? If the prophet can move in a direction at a time where killing us was the norm, why can't we do that today? Just something to think about. Just something to think about. Now, let's move down. I'm going to go to verse 4. It says, the Moral Science of America is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States, etc. That the world may hear and know the truth that among the descendants of Africa, there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of men under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. See, we know the prophet is not here. We know he's not here physically. But the words of the prophet are still here. All we have to do is just hear them, imitate them, and live them. But how do we do that? We got to start reading. We got to start reading. Then after we done read it, we have to study it. And now how do you study? See, you can research it. When you research it, you'll begin to understand that what it is that you're learning and what it is that you're reading applies to you and it's just right for you. See, I came into the Moore Science of America like almost 30 years ago. But I didn't begin to understand the Moore Science of America until like 20 years ago.
Mm.
Why? Because I didn't take the time to actually begin to understand and read it, apply it, and move in the directions that it was telling me to move in. So I wasted 10 years of my life because I didn't want to dedicate it to the prophet. But now that I have dedicated to the prophet, I know where it is, what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. And guess what? When I did finally dedicate it to the prophet, I found out that this was just tailor-made for me.
Mm-hmm. Come on, Mo.
It was tailor-made just for me. Give it a chance for those that haven't. Give it a chance for those that are still wondering if it will work. Trust me, it will work. All you have to do is just step out there on faith. Actually, step out there on belief. Belief, faith, and fruition. Belief is that which man perhaps think is true. Because see, that's all you need is that just think that is true. Because see, when you start walking out there thinking that is true, you'll see the faith in what it is that you believe, because faith, having faith is knowing that it is true. And I'm paraphrasing because if you study, you'll find it later on in our Holy Quran of the Moore Science of America.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And fruition. That's something I'll let you study for yourself too. So I'm going to read one more thing. Go to the end of the chapter. So I can't give you everything because I don't want to get in our sheik's pocket, because I work with him and I don't want no trouble. And see, we have to understand and know exactly what the Moore Science of America is for. I'm going to read verse 9 through 11. The covenant of the great God Allah. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. Come all ye Asiatics of America and hear the truth about yourself. Hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights. Because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate. We are trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come, link yourselves with the families of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. You see, this is what the Moore Science of America is about. Learning to love yourself. See, we was hating ourselves for so long that we don't even know what love is. Mm-hmm. But if you join the Moore Science of America, I guarantee you, you'll know what love is. I'll leave it. I came in peace. Islam?
Islam. I'd like to thank our pastor for a timely message. And as our brother was sharing his understanding of the teaching of the prophet over reality, the one thing I was thinking about is that what else did the prophet over reality prophesy? He says that he's going to leave the government in office long enough for them to teach us how to run a government. If we look at the news today and see what's going on, outward in, say the president, the so-called president, don't even want to leave off that chair. So much so that he's about ready to get arrested along with the rest of them for murder. They had 5 people to die because they tried to infiltrate and go into the Congress, tearing up stuff because they ain't want to leave that seat. And said he was the culprit. Said he the one caused the problem. But nevertheless, the question is, are we ready to run a government? And the answer to that question is no. We can't see eye to eye even right now on one common thing that the Prophet Noble Ali said. This is the uniting of the Moassides people of God coming under one. Don't make no difference what house you come out. But the holy coming of the Asiatic nation goes along with that. When we demonstrate unity, then we're going to be able to be all right. Because then we're going to know that we're in the footsteps of the prophet. It said his footprints been clearly cut so all can see and know that our prophet went that way. Now, one of the things, brother said, how can you demonstrate this? Well, by living it. See, our action, words, and deeds gonna be the proof. We ain't gotta say nothing out loud about. All we gotta do is live it. And then, and only then, we're gonna get anybody to follow us. But if we ain't living it, you ain't gotta worry about it because it's gonna be a whole lot of questions come along. But I'm surely, like the brother said, I've been in the Moore Science Temple of America since 1987. And it fit me too like a tailor-made suit. And I tell you, I used to be furious when somebody called me black. And then when I started finding out about Willie Lynch and reading about Willie Lynch and reading about that history, oh yeah, I knew the prophet was right. And guess what? I wouldn't find myself nowhere else better than where I'm at today. It's following the teaching of the Prophet Noble Ali. Islam? Islam. And at this time, I like to call another beautiful brother. We had quite some time together. Our national treasurer, Brother A. McCullen Bay. Islam?
Islam.
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 Islam. Islam, man.
Islam.
Having already risen, I give praise to Allah, the author, the governor, the almighty, eternal, incomprehensible. I stand honor to Allah's luscious love thought, born on the square, 1886. None other than my prophet, Noble Ali. I stand honor to the forerunner of the prophet, Brother Marcus Garvey. I stand honor to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh, Ibn al-Il. I stand honor to the National Grand Sheikh here, Brother G. Turner Ill. I stand honor to the assistant, Brother D. Edmund Ill. I stand honor to Brother K. Cunningham Ill. I stand honor, excuse me, I would be remiss if I didn't stand honor to Al Supreme Grand Sheikh and National Chairman, Brother R. Edwards Ill. I stand honor to the Grand National Secretary, Brother Sister C. Griffin Bay. I stand honor to the Captain, Brother R. Goodman Bay. I stand honor where honor is due. I stand honor to each and every one of you, as it is a custom when addressing the brutal Moors, wayfarers, sympathize, saying plain old seekers after the truth. That we read a portion or paragraph from the Holy Quran. In doing so, I like to declare my intention from the Holy Prophet, page 3. Because Allah is leading on. If there's any error, don't blame it on Allah. Don't blame it on the Prophet. Blame it on me, A. McClellan Bay. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. This is a marvelous day. You know, Prophet Noble Ali manifest day.
1886. 135 years. Divine instructions, page 59. The end of time is fulfilling of the prophecy. I like to go down to chapter verse 5. That the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa there is still much wisdom to be learned. In these days, for the redemption of the Son of Men, under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If the prophet can save a soul or a wretched soul like me, he can do it for you. Without a doubt. Because I bumped my head, and I was clinging to names that delete the slavery. Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian. I was acting like a Negro unconsciously, not knowing that that's what the Europeans want. That's what they want. Verse 6. We as a clean and pure nation, descendants from the inhabitants of Africa, do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the family of the pale-skinned nation of Europe, neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religion, creed for the redemption and the salvation of mankind on earth. My forefathers, they died so I could get this, so I could strive, be conscious of what I do. You know, I have to know my higher self and my lower self. Only demon that I can be rescued from is self. Is self. And when I think about it, they say, can you name 5 descendants of Adam and Eve? Say Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. That is the characters of my lower self. So how can I combat it? Argue with it? I have to look at my higher self, the mothers of virtue, the harmonies of life, which breeds justice, mercy, love, and right.
It's not more.
I mean, this is a glorious day, man. I can't say that enough. This is a glorious day that Allah seemed fit and knew that we need the prophet. We was running off and doing all sorts of things. You know, our people have a problem with accepting somebody that look like them, talk like them, been through what they've been through, and have a solution. Our people got a problem with that. We got a problem with that. That goes to show me how deep the European has planted their seed in their mind. In their mind. The thought is the cause of it all. What is a prophet? Prophet is a thought of love manifested in flesh. In flesh. To save us. Because we was running rapid. Look at the era that he came. Like the brother said before me, they was lynching. They was killing for little or nothing. But they wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare trample on a prophet. Only Allah sends a prophet. Only Allah.
Mm-hmm. Come on, Walt.
Only Allah sends a prophet. Brother said the prophet left his steps clearly cut so all can see that he went that way. We know he went that way. All you gotta do is follow. That's all you gotta do is follow. But as a stiff-necked, stubborn race of people, ain't never did nothing except at the point of a sword.
And that's a prophecy. It's not.
We stop. Say, I ain't going, no, it ain't for me. I ain't going. As soon as you pull that sword up, oh yeah, I woke up this morning, I'm under that sword. I'm going. And I'm telling you, it's nothing greater. It's nothing greater. What made it so good? Forerunner came before the prophet to wake us up, to warn us, to prepare us, to tell us to get ready to meet your prophet. He's coming. Prophet came, and he did what he was supposed to do. He did what he's supposed to do. It is us as a nation of people that don't do what they're supposed to do. Read verse 7 and 8. Therefore, we are returned to church and Christianity back to the European nation as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation. Returning the church back to the European for their earthly salvation. Now let's check this out. Verse 8. While we, the Moorish Americans, are returned to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. For our earthly and divine salvation. I have mercy. Tell me he wasn't a prophet. Verse 9. The covenant of the great God Allah, honor thy father and thy mother, that their days may be longer upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God Allah has given thee. Once again, the brother said it well. Verse 10. Come all ye Asiatics of America and hear the truth about your nationality and birthright. Because we are not Negroes, learning of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate. When we was created in love. We was created in love. Where does hate come from? Who installed it in us? Who gave it to us? We was created in love. But then we got a sluggish will, and we wanted to do what we wanted to do. Ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. I'm this age or I'm that age. I can do what I want to do. Now, yeah, you big and bad enough to do what you want to do. Be big and bad enough to suffer consequences. Because see, you have to remember there's consequence for every decision that we make, whether it be positive or negative. right here in the Moore Science Temple of America, the Holy Quran of the Moore Science Temple, it tells you that. Just because, don't think, bold man, I'm paraphrasing.
Mhm.
Don't think, bold man, that the arms of Allah has weakened, and I wink at thy doing, because it has not. Just because our punishment has been delayed, don't think for one moment. Look, Allah sees all. He sees all, and he knows all. And because he delayed your punishment, it may be a day, maybe 50 years from now, but it's still your punishment. And then they say, man, why me? Why not me? That's the question. Why not me? I'm telling you, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and you want something better, you have race pride, then join. Join. The Uniting of the Moore Science Temple of America. And you will know who your forefathers were, and you will understand your divine creed, which we strive for each and every day. And you will learn your spiritual self. Oh man, look. It's the divine constitution and bylaws of the Moore Science Temple. When you look at it, first thing you see is a crescent moon, the star. It says salvation. The next thing is an eye, which says Allah. And then his hands pressing unity. But if you think your condition can be better, then join the United of the Moore Science Temple of America. Now leave you as I can in peace.
Islam. I'd like to thank our national treasurer, Brother A. McCullen Bay, for a timely lesson. I got a few things that I like to do before I call our final speaker. Islam, holding instructions from the prophet religion, verse 25. Oh, think not, bold man, because thy punishment is delayed, that thy arm of Allah is weakened. Neither flatter thyself with hopes that he winketh at thy doings. Islam?
Islam.
The first thing I'm going to do is go to, what should we call it? And it's one thing I like to read a paragraph of it because it'll show you and give you some direction. First, let me go
Excuse me,
to,
Moore.
yes sir.
With a book or
This is the Moorish literature, Mo.
Thank you, Moore.
Let's go to Savior of Humanity first. It say, in this electrified age, men are racing into this life without complete knowledge of where they are going or what the end will be. When riches seem to be their only pursuit, to be obtained any way and at any cost. When selfishness, avarice, greed, and lust dominate their very being, when humanity is generally is left at the mercy of those who have no mercy. Now, 1 second, folks. Okay, and I'm going through there, but I'm also going to say, let's talk a little bit about Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Because he was the forerunner of the prophet. And what is a forerunner? First and foremost, a forerunner is one who comes to pave the way. He paved the way for the prophet Noble Ali. Well, if he paved the way for the prophet Noble Ali, why wasn't he tested? Well, let's look at this. He wasn't tested because, one, he was protected by Allah. And to show you how he was protected, he had built an organization which is called the UNIA, Negro Improvement Association. He had something like 124,000 members of his organization in New York City and various other different parts of the United States. What did he build? He had boats. He had steamboats. He had newspapers. He had quite a few things. The Prophet Noble Ali had quite a few things, even in that era of time, even when they were lynching. But the fact of the matter is that when Marcus Garvey was paving the way for the Prophet Noble Ali, he was stirring the people up. So much so that they were fresh coming out of slavery. So if you was fresh coming out of slavery, how could you grasp when you were whipped, broken down, not allowed to read, but not get caught with no book? Understand what the Prophet Noble Ali or Marcus Garvey had brought. A.J. Hoover and his boys, the CIA, the FBI, and all them people, because they had a plan, and they didn't want this plan to be interrupted. So what did they do? They conjured up some charges on Marcus Garvey. Was he in prison? Of course he was. Study the history. It's right there for you. You can go to Encyclopedia and get that, or you can Google it and they'll give it to you. But the fact of the matter is, his work was already done. And it was time for him to move on another plan. He was so wonderful and so organized that he got a book, and I suggest you brothers get that book. The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. He was so orchestrated when he spoke that he even gave instructions on how the tension of our people and how to gauge how you speak. To hold the attention of our people, because their attention wasn't very long. So you had to get your message out quick so you won't lose them. Then you had to gauge it on how many people was in the room. Your voice. What kind of water to drink. Room temperature water. All that kind of stuff. See, it's stuff that we can learn about our people that can help us better understand what Allah sent us to the Prophet Noble Ali. But we got to be able to start reading again. Because I can remember when I wouldn't pick up a book, wouldn't go nowhere near school. I went to school, went out the back door. Why? Because I didn't understand. Then the prophet said, what should we call them? It was an act of psychology. What do you mean by that? Act of psychology. What is psychology? I think I read somewhere in some dictionary where it says supposed to be the study of the soul. Is that right? So whatever you put in, that's what's going to come out. I ain't had nothing to put in. So I was all over the place. To Allah seeing fit. Sit down. My son, you got to sit down, and I'm going to lay you down, and I'm going to put something in you. That's right. So when I say this is tailor-made for me, I'm telling you, this is what I try to do every day, all day. Do I fall short? Of course I do. But guess what? Like Jesus told Lazarus, get up, dust yourself off. What do you mean by that? Well, okay, if you fall somewhere, using profanity, something like that, clean yourself up. Pull your book out. Your plan. Study your plan. Say we must have a deep appreciation for womanhood. Respect your sisters. Some of us get tricked up off of that. We think we're respecting them, but sometimes we be putting them down. Only because they're act of psychology. And we think that we're doing the right thing. And the one thing I like about the uniting of the World Science Temple of America and what we're trying to do in the pristine teachings of the Prophet Noble Ali, our sisters don't have to sit in the back. Our sisters got a voice. And we can respect them wherever we go at. And that's how brothers and sisters out in the world, as we travel, going to see how we respect our sister women. Not just only just having them in the room, but position-wise, elevating-wise, because when we deal with science, excuse me, it's progression. Islam, I'm still trying to find this thing, and I can't find it right now. But guess what? All praise due to Allah, because I believe I got my point across. These words are so little, man, I tell you. In my eyes, ain't like they used to be. I can just grab hold of this stuff. But in any event, I'm not gonna hold brother up. But I'm gonna tell you this. Oh, I got a lot to say about the Prophet Noble Ali, and I really don't need the book for real. Because I did a little study. I did a little. See, and that's what we need to do. And then we won't get caught up. See, and we need to follow our instructions from the Prophet Noble Ali to brothers that's preparing certain lessons and things like that. Like our Supreme Grand Chief Brother R. Everdale, like our Grand Chief Brother G. Turner L., because they teach wonderful. And most importantly, they only just teach it. They live it. Do they fall sometime? Of course. Because we ain't arrived there yet. We striving to get there, though. Oh boy, we striving to get there. And sometimes, some days are worse than others. But all praise is due to Allah. That's why we're here. And what does it say in creation of fall of man? It says a soldier never knows his strength till he meet his foe. Your thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. Well, what is that for? Islam? Islam. Good gracious, brother. I mean, I thought that the Prophet Noble Ali gave us something to shout about.
That's right.
Islam?
Islam.
And at this time, I like to call our National Grand Chief Brother G. Turner.
Islam.
Islam.
Bones creeping.
Islam. That's very good.
Islam.
Yeah.
Islam. All praises be to Allah. Having already risen in prayer, I want to give praise to Allah. I want to give thanks to Allah for all that He has blessed me with.
Start with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we all don't see Allah the same.
Mm.
Sometimes we don't see Allah's grace and His mercy. Sometimes we don't see the blessings that He gives us every day.
It's not.
So we can try to speak for each other.
That's right.
But the reality of it is it's based upon our perception of Allah.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it meaningful to us.
Mm.
See, 'cause I can say a whole lot of things very eloquently. But it doesn't matter if our perceptions are not meeting in the moment where we can see Allah
Mm-hmm.
same in that moment. So
Mm.
I speak for me and all that Allah has blessed me with. Biggest thing that Allah did for me was that He sent me a prophet.
Mm-hmm.
He sent me a prophet. He sent me His thoughts manifested in flesh that I could understand it
Mm-hmm.
from where I was at, in the darkness where I was at, that I could understand it and begin to grasp the concept of what He was showing me, what I could do, what I needed to do. And that I could begin to shape my way of thinking in such a way that would be to my benefit finally,
Mm.
and not to my own destruction and the destruction of those around me,
Mm.
that it would be to my benefit.
Mm.
I give praise, I give thanks to Allah for extending His thoughts. I give honor to His thought manifested in the flesh. January the 8th, 1886. And in this day, as was said before, is the 135-year anniversary of the birth
Mm-hmm.
of that thought manifested in the flesh. Our prophet, Noble Ali.
Son.
Not enough can be said in giving honor to our prophet.
That's right.
See, there's a bit of a misconception about the teachings of the Prophet Noble Ali,
Mm-hmm.
the teachings of Islamism, and I put emphasis on that because our prophet said that our religion is Islamism.
That's right.
Prophet Muhammad brought the faith of Islam.
Mm.
There was nothing to be added to it, right?
It's not.
Our prophet brought us a higher degree of that faith that mankind was ready for at this time.
Mm.
Come on, Bo.
See, for some people who had subscribed so many partners to Allah, who had idols in which they worshiped, literally had idols and things that they had shaped, that they were worshiping as it was God, they had to be taught the lesson one way.
That's right.
We were ready as a people who were broken down to our knees. We were ready to receive the higher degree of that same lesson, because sometimes some people get it twisted that when we give honor to our prophet continuously, that we are in some shape, form, or another committing shirk, meaning ascribing partners to Allah, when the fact of the matter is, for those who understand Islamism and more science, right?
Mm. Come on, Bo.
Mm-hmm.
That our prophet is a thought of Allah. So in honoring our prophet, we are what? We are honoring our God. He said, what you do for man, you do for Allah. So when you honor man, you are honoring Allah. You are giving that praise because that is a thought of Allah Himself.
Islam.
Allah is but one.
Oh, that's right. Come on, Bo.
Sometimes we get it twisted.
Mm.
In our cardinal way of thinking, we believe there's a whole lot of things going on. We actually believe that we're individuals. We believe that. That is cardinal thinking. Our prophet understood that He and Allah were one.
Islam.
Here's why he said Allah alone is guiding the destiny of this movement. He never said that He was. He understood that He was Allah's representative manifested in the flesh.
Come on, Bo. Yes, He did.
He understood it. And He came to tell us that we too are representatives of vicegerent of Allah manifested in the flesh when we rise to our station. So if I give honor to you, am I praising you? Of course not. Because what you do of good is comes from Allah.
Islam.
If you take Allah out the equation, if you take Allah out the recipe, there is no good in you or me.
Come on, Bo. Islam. So you can't take
Because
God.
Allah is but one.
Islam.
Mm-hmm.
But our prophet brought us another degree in it so we can sing it. Elohim and all of that. Sometimes they get it twisted. Oh, it's subscribing partners to Allah. No. You can't even begin to, even with your highest thought, begin to put circles around Allah.
That's right. Islam.
You can't say, I fully worship the one God, because you can't grasp the one God.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Bo.
You can't grab it, you can't put it in a corner, you can't control it, you can't possess it.
That's right.
That's right.
It's something that cannot be possessed.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Overnight mind copy things.
Yeah,
Overnight. Come on, Bo.
Man,
It's
the
not.
author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty and incomprehensible.
Mm.
Mm.
So how you gonna grasp all that? It had to be broken down to you like a fraction. Huh?
It's bitty piece. That's like, come on, Bo.
He had to send a prophet and manifest him in a form so you can begin to get a grasp of what he was talking about and what's really going on. And even in that, you still falling short.
Come on, Bo.
We still falling short because we'll spend our time.
Mm-hmm.
We will spend our time in trying to prove, right, that the other is not doing it right.
Come on, Bo.
We'll try to prove that the other is not doing it right.
Ain't that something, Bo?
Not understanding with our finite way of thinking that we have so much to do to get it right ourselves.
That's right.
So yes, I give honor, high honor to my prophet.
Islam.
Because I know that in giving high honor to my prophet, in the same breath, I'm praising my God.
That's right. That's right.
In the same breath.
Mm.
I think what Jesus said that he and the Father are one.
Islam.
What does that mean? They are one. All we gotta do is put our hand in the Lord's hand. When we put our hand in the Lord's hand, when we strive to get that oneness, because that is the first and foremost pillar of Islam, it is the oneness of Allah.
Come on, Bo. That's what it is.
Our objective is to unfold into the oneness of Allah. And at one with our who? Father Allah. At one with. The great challenge is the sacrifice of self-will to bring it in tune with the deific will, the will of Allah.
Islam.
Because really right now, we are caught up in an illusion that there's more than one will. There's only one will.
That's right.
It's only one.
Islam.
We get it twisted sometimes, yes, because we're still struggling with those cardinal customs and merely ideas of ourselves. We're caught up in them. Sometimes we can shake it off. That's why Allah's thoughts come and give us various means and methods of which to throw off these things that get us caught up.
Come on,
Prayer, meditation, fasting, all these things.
That's right.
Members attend your meetings promptly. And then we get upset with each other. Boy, you need to come to your meeting. You ain't mad with me. You mad with Allah.
Islam. That's right.
Oh, we thought that Noble Ali of his own will put this together. That's what we thought. And then we'll search for loopholes in it. No. When I say to my brother and sister to refer to the law, it ain't for me.
That's right.
It's for yourself.
Right.
It's for your God.
That's right. Come on, Bo.
Over top of our prophet, the brother began to talk about the divine constitution and bylaws, right? Over top of our prophet is the eye of what?
Allah.
Allah.
All seeing eye.
Allah.
Omnipotent. Islam.
Okay. We give honor to Brother Marcus Garvey, forerunner of our prophet, who definitely stirred up the nation and prepared them to meet the coming prophet. Brother Marcus Garvey did what it was, and it was his mission to do.
Islam.
Yeah.
Same way with John. Missions is kind of, slightly different, but the objective was still the same. Get them ready
Islam.
so they can understand some things. Because when I come, some of our prophets' earlier followers were members of the UNIA.
Come on, boy.
That's not strange.
Yeah.
No.
It's not strange. Somebody said he was his forerunner. Give honor to all past leaders of the Lord's Side Temple of America, all those who obeyed our prophet, all those who strive to obey our prophet, all those that helped our prophet. I even give honor to those who try to hurt our prophet. Because we have to see both sides and understand it's keeping the reality of things, that we are struggling from an enemy that is within.
Islam.
Son.
I want to give honor to all who our chairman this evening gave honor to. Not going to be long. Just want to declare my intentions of any errors today. Please put them on Brother G. Turner L. Not the teachings of the prophet, not on the temple, not on the law. Let me take that one. Because, we can do that. We have a wide brush sometimes. I get mad with Goodman Bay, I'm mad at everybody in town. I ain't going down there no more. Right? No, that's Goodman Bay. Let me find him and have my issue with him. And get over it and move on. Isn't it?
His son.
Read for page 3. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. Read briefly from the chapter, the end of time, chapter 48, the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. The last prophet in these days is Noble Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. Now I want to stop with that verse, and I just want to say this. Yes, our prophet was sent to us to bring us the truth about ourselves, that we were not any of the names that were given to us by other people, but he came to teach us more than that. And he came for more than just us. He passed the torch of responsibility. Listen carefully to this. He passed the torch of responsibility for sharing and spreading the truth about mankind to humanity, to the more Shemar. He passed it to us. He gave that responsibility to us. And we need to understand this so that we will stop playing games with this and think that it is something that we are to use to whip on each other with.
Come on,
Or
Bob.
how much I know. It is not for that.
Islam.
It is for the salvation and redemption of mankind here on earth, excluding no one. Does it work in a order? Of course it does. We have to get it right ourselves.
Come on, Bob.
Among ourselves. Because it's only in us living it among ourselves and showing the world that it works, that the world will even begin to listen to us.
Come on, Bob.
Let's not be fooled. The truth is not to just be taught. The truth is not to just be taught. It is to be lived.
That's right.
Because the reality of it is this, is that through our debasing ourselves, so fully debasing ourselves, and all of us can share a time where we can remember when we were so far debased from Allah that we acted beneath a worm.
Come on, Mo.
We can remember that time. So we have to also remember that time in saying that we want to bring this truth to others when we cannot show them this truth works.
Come on, Mo.
Has nothing to do with the truth. But if I say that I'm a messenger of the truth and I'm not showing that it works in my life, then what am I doing? What am I doing? That's the question. So, yes, it was meant for us first. Because he came specifically to us to help us deal with some issues that were blocking us from being and taking our proper place in the affairs of man.
Come on, Mo.
See, we had to straighten out a few issues. It was all tied to our perception of the thing, our perception of ourselves, our perception of our role in humanity. Because our humanity had been stripped. Think about it. When you can begin to start labeling a man all kinds of things except who he really is, then you have stripped him of his humanity. That's right. And when you strip him of his humanity, you separate his cognizant connection to his God. Severe amnesia does not change the fact that he is connected to his God. He is not conscious or aware of that connection.
Come on, Mo. That's right.
And even worse, to replace that with an illusion. So our prophet came to straighten out some things in our thinking. So that after you straighten out these things in our thinking, then we can begin to start to wash. Right?
Come on, Mo.
Then we can begin to start to wash and wash off some of that stench that we have been carrying. You know, some of those things some of those principles that elude the slave. Now we limit ourselves in slavery, the concept of slavery, to just chattel slavery and the results that came after that. But it goes further than that, because we at times are enslaved to our lower self.
Islam.
A lot of times we are enslaved to our lower self. So he came to give us those things, and we can begin to wash off those things that enslave us in every aspect of our lives, so that we can exercise that spiritual principle of freedom to be able to do this work and share this gospel to the sons of men. Our mission is large. Our work is large. And we don't have time to make it something that becomes of a burden to ourselves by becoming so petty with one another that all we do is bicker about small issues. I said to myself the other day, I was sitting there thinking, I was saying, I'd rather be among those who are making things happen in this movement than to be among those who are talking about what's happening. I said, this is the difference between the leadership that my prophet was raised and some other kind of leadership that you see today. And I'm not talking about just in the movement, because we got to look what's going on in the world that we're in. Let's go to that statement that said the prophet said that he was going to keep the European Union long enough to teach us how to run a government. We have to be careful of that, because we see what's going on in the government.
Come on, Mo. That's right.
You want to run it like that?
They all over the place.
We had to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff and what's going on in government. See, let's make it simple. Teach us how to run an organization, how to be organized,
Mhm.
how to set it up, and how it should operate.
That's right.
See, the difference in this government that our prophet is talking about is that it has to operate under the principles of God.
Islam.
In every station that you may find yourself in, you have to operate in those principles. If you find that you can't lead in this government. You can't.
Islam.
Someone say, "Oh man, you got a lot of bacon, man. I won't be putting up with that." Allah put up with me.
Islam.
How can I forget so soon?
Uh,
Before I lose patience in my brother or my sister. Sometimes, I get to that point. But I had to remind myself and bring myself back to remembrance of when I was a boy.
come on, Mo. That's right.
I had to remember that. And the Lord showed mercy in me time and time again. And I'm only dealing with this time that I can recall because there's nothing new under the sun. So I've been fiddling around and fumbling around for some lifetimes.
Come on, Mo.
Because if I hadn't, I wouldn't keep coming back in this flesh.
Come on, Mo.
So the Lord keep forgiving me. And keep giving me opportunity to get it right. And how dare I then look at my brother or sister and say that I can't take that. I ain't dealing with that. Unless you tell me Allah is not God, Noble Ali is not his prophet, I am bound to find a way to make it work.
Islam.
See, once you denounce my God, my prophet, I got to get away from you.
Islam.
Anyway,
That's right, Mo. Come on, Mo.
I got to make room for you to get that brains knocked out. Because you're all the way
Hold
lost.
on. That's right,
So I
Mo.
got to make room for that. I don't want to be in the way when the smack comes.
I'm telling you.
But as long as a brother or sister say Allah is God, know you Ali is prophet, I got to try to find a way to make this thing work. Sometimes it may require me to go in a corner with you. So then, come on now. What kind of foolishness is this?
That's right. Come on, Mo.
But we got to find a way to make it work.
Islam.
Because Allah find a way to make it work with me. See,
Islam.
here's the thing. I want to say this in closing for all of us here and for those who may be watching. Now, I said this before about these masks in life.
Come on, Mo.
Be careful of the mask in life.
That's right.
Because if we can put the mask on and become so adept in wearing the mask that we will have people believing that we are actually the mask.
Come on, Mo.
Right?
Islam.
We got the holy mask. We got the Moorish mask. We got all these different masks. They are masks. It's no different if you go to a costume
Come on,
store
Mo.
and they be up on the shelf and we put it on.
Come
And
on, Mo.
sometimes we wear the mask for so long that we forget that we got it on. And then we start acting like we really are. People be like, "What gracious."
Come on, Mo.
That's why we got to take time to be real with one another
Islam.
so that we can help one another. And we can strip off the mask and I can be more with my faults and failings and my brothers and sisters won't condemn me for them.
Come on, Mo.
But will try to help me.
Islam. That's right.
Ooh, we got a ways to go for that one.
I'm telling you. Yes,
See?
sir.
We got a ways to go for that one because it's man, the first thing we want to do is, man, oh, that brother, he all messed up.
Forget about you messed up.
That brother, man, oh man, that sister, yeah.
Islam.
Yeah, I know, I understand. They often say about them finger pointers, though, don't they?
Right.
That's right.
Right. We born one. Three
They
little
often say about
Islam.
them, But even for my brother or my sister that may do that, I'm going to try to help.
Islam.
Because I pray that the Lord send someone to help me when I need
That's right.
Islam.
Because trust me, we all going to reach a point in this journey that we're going to need somebody to reach out their hand and help us.
That's right, Mo.
It is guaranteed. We can wear that mask all we want. I'm telling you, we real good on social media. We put the masks on. We got to take them nice pictures and stuff. Them be our good pictures. You know, those be our good pictures.
It's
I
long.
understand. You
It's
know,
long.
I understand it. You know,
Yeah.
but you know, nobody get to see them ugly pictures.
Oh man, it's long.
And the people that do get to see them, they be looking at you like, all that stuff you talking about on Facebook. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. You know, that's why I tell you, I'll be backing up from off of, you know, so I understand it. I understand, I see it, I said it before. I know y'all heard me say it before. And you be like, oh, always on people on Facebook. Oh, you know, they probably come up with a reason why I say what I say about it. But I see the danger in it.
Mhm.
You know, I see the benefit that it can, and if we use it, once we elevate and we begin to start working with things for our advantage, it's a great tool to have. When we
Right.
start working it to our advantage, we haven't been too good at working it to our advantage. You know, because we suffer from a lot of emotionalism, so we'll get on there. You know, we will. You have a lot of what they call subliminal posts.
It's,
It's long.
And we'll do that to somebody that's right across the street. Right across the street.
Right across the street.
Right? You ain't got to put it on Facebook. Go across the street and talk to them. You know, come on now.
It's
Right
long.
around the corner. Go around the corner and talk to them.
It's long.
We need to stop playing with ourselves, man. We can't get nothing done like that. Nah. I like it, you know. We come from a time and a place that, look, listen, oh, it's a problem, come on in, shut the door. Turn the lock. I remember in the temple. Brother came in. He had a problem. He came in to temple. He came in there. He shut the door. He was real dramatic with it too. He turned the lock. Did one of these things. Like turned around with the lock. I said, okay. And the Academy Award goes to Brother Bay. All right, now what you got to say? So, and we stayed in there with the door locked so we were able to walk out hugging and stuff.
It's long.
You know. But he didn't go. He didn't go on Facebook and talk about how he was mad at me. You know how we do. We even. I ain't got time.
It's long.
Okay, but when I started looking at myself, really looking at myself, I look at, man, I ain't got time. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing, but I ain't got time. I got to work. I got to keep an eye on this lower self.
That's right.
I got to keep an eye on. Well, I'll tell you, the moment my eye be on your lower self, I'll tell you that my lower self will get me and have me in a chokehold. Keep running around that lower self. Have you in a chokehold. All them things and all them potential enemies we got inside of us, inconstancy, misery, instability, weakness, insufficiency, now all those potential weaknesses we got there. We got time to be trying to figure out how to subliminally take a shot at somebody. You better stop playing. While you trying to figure out how to subliminally shoot at somebody else, you know what's up right over your shoulder. See, that's right. You got to add this in there with it. Make sure they feel it.
Yeah.
Make sure they feel this one, and then and make sure them over there know who I'm talking about. Stop playing. Stop playing. Too much. Too much stuff we gotta do. Stop playing.
You got game, Lord.
Praise the Lord. Thank you for the water, my brother. For some reason, I don't know why. I just got thirsty all of a sudden. But praise the Lord. Somebody was thinking about that. Praise the Lord. But I'm gonna close out more. I look forward to our celebration. I look forward to us going forward with what we're trying to do in terms of bringing our prophecy into a reality.
It's
The
not.
uniting of the Moabite symbol of America. And look at the verse closely and carefully. The prophet is the founder of the uniting of the Moabite symbol of America. He is the foundation of the uniting. That means to me that we have to return to what he brought.
That's right.
Let's take off the table everything else.
Right.
Let's go to what he brought, what he taught, and that we know what he did.
Islam.
And let's collectively try to figure out how to put it into action.
Build off of that.
and go from there.
Islam.
And let's keep each other in check. That none of us go too far to the left and moving forward. That we stay on what our prophet brought.
That's right.
Let's not complicate it anymore.
Islam.
Let's hold fast to the simplicity of truth brought to us by our prophet. Islam,
Islam.
leave you as I came for peace.
Islam. I'd like to thank our National Branch Chief, Brother G. Turner L. for a time of spiritual lesson. And at this time, I have to change it to something else. Islam.
Islam.
Salvation of God, unity, more science of America. Prophet Noble Ali, Divine Proclamation, January 1929. Prophet warned all miles of government order to read the proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members they listen in all radical taking speeches while they're working their homes on the street. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop asking your card to your opinions and cause confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Fail to obey these orders to bear consequences. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. And when those principles are violated, justice them must take its course. Any member, group member, holding this bill toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Morris movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down from by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn their card butt, cease wearing turbans affairs, and return to the state without a prophet's family. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Ali. The prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is therefore sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part to protect the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet, the will of the law, to redeem his people from their sins, by order of Prophet Noble Ali. Islam?
Islam.
Islam. And at this time, this is where we lower the meeting. Are there any announcements?
No announcement.
I hope